Hi, friend. Ashley here. Welcome to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. I'm here to guide you along your journey to unlocking your dreams to achieve the best life that you can imagine possible. From my journey in medicine as a PA and then some in the corporate world, I always still desired a little bit more out of life. It wasn't until I met some people who had seen their dreams realized that it occurred to me that maybe, just maybe, mine could come true too. Come along with me as we get to know some of these friends of mine and hear their stories of unlocking their dreams. Hi, friend. Welcome back this week to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. This week, I have a new friend with me that's from here in Charleston now. We'll get to know the whole story as we dive in. But Chef Louise Rakers is a Danish culinary artist passionate about vegan and gluten-free cuisine. Her journey to the kitchen began in social services, where stress-induced gut issues actually is what led her to seek natural remedies, which I'm so excited to dive into. And really discovering the power of healing within plant-based eating, she found her passion for healthy cooking. But Louise, I'll let you introduce yourself. Just kind of dive on in, share us a little bit about your story and about your health journey. I'd love to hear it all.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is always so wonderful getting to share on this platform everything that I've been working so hard on the last, 5 years of my life. But you nailed the first part. I am from Denmark. I have worked as a chef now for about 7 years. Extremely passionate about the plant forward movement and not so much like the junk vegan, but more the whole foods holistic approach to plant-based foods. I actually almost died when I was 27 from a parasite infection and had to find a alternative route to recovering my gut system, my body, and an overall very alternative situation because the doctors kept telling me I should just do antibiotics, and the antibiotics were making me more sick, and I didn't realize it until I met this incredible holistic nutritionist in Spain who told me, I think you might have a parasite infection. So, this parasite infection started all of this that today is Nordic cooking. And I didn't anticipate 4 years ago when I started Nordic that it would turn into an empire of cooking classes, online consulting, and grab and go and cake mix. I had no idea, but now we're here and I'm very proud of everything that we've done.
As you should be. Yeah, I remember seeing one of the first things I saw from you on Instagram, gosh, probably years ago. It's just beautiful. And not only is it healthy and so healing for the gut, but it truly is beautiful. And I love your story about food being medicine. I was listening to a story yesterday. I guess it's a full moon next week. And so I have some friends
Oh,
actually doing some parasite cleanses next week.
yeah,
But
we'll have
just
to do it.
yeah, just diving into all that. And like you said, I think so. My background's in medicine. Obviously, a lot of our listeners know, but there's so much more to food and healing. And I love even the picture you shared this week on Instagram of kind of where you were to see how healthy and thriving you look now. Is parasite cleanses something that you still do regularly, or did you kind of get your body healed and then reset?
Yeah, I do. I do. I do a lot of detox. I work really hard to try and, even like skin, right? I used to have terrible skin and now I have very clear skin. I don't have any makeup on right now. I don't have any like lotion, nothing. It's just like I love feeling like I always have really good skin and like a very clean feeling like inside and out.
Mhm.
Um, but I do still work with Natasha, who is in Marbella, Spain, and we just actually did a 7 week detox course where we had multiple of my clients here from Charleston as part of this online thing with parasite cleansing, which was really, really incredible.
That's
They're
awesome.
actually right now, as this airs, they're going through their cleanse. So it'll be exciting to see how many parasites we find.
Yeah, it's so creepy. I didn't intend obviously for this to go this way, but I love where the story's headed and just the timing of it and just how we don't even realize how many things we have going on and how much of our immune system comes from our gut. And like you said, you
Yeah.
see these things in our skin and people want to throw antibiotics or all different things at it, which actually is making it worse. And you're a great testimony, just even looking at you from that time to now, just
Yeah.
with that thriving. I mean, it's beautiful. It's incredible. So obviously not from Charleston, like you said. How did you end up in Charleston, South Carolina?
So I did that thing where I fell in love with an American and I moved over here. I was never supposed to stay here. It was supposed to be for a short period of time and then we were supposed to go back. I still have so much business running in Spain. So I've been multitasking that. And then it's been just magical experiencing Charleston. I really felt like when I got here, being brand new, had never really heard of Charleston before I came. It's been a magical ride getting to know this city and the people here. I mean, whoa.
Yeah, it's a great space to it's a beginning to be a bigger city, but I also feel like it's a fun place to feel very small and like family too, which is so
It's smaller than I first thought it was. At first I felt like it was this big city that I came to, but now like I sit at a coffee shop and I definitely see a lot of people that I know. But that's been the beauty of doing cooking classes because I do 3 to 4 classes every single week where we do like different kinds of cooking classes and baking classes. And you meet so many people. So it's really nice moving around Charleston. I constantly see someone who's been in my classes and it makes it feel super homey here.
that's awesome. Do you have a lot of locals that come, or do you have a lot of people too who are visiting who end up in your classes as well?
Primarily locals.
That's special. That's
Mm,
really cool. I love that. So where did Nordic fit into this whole journey of healing and food, and kind of how did that start?
if I'm being honest, it started because I got a real job in America when I got my green card. It was in a cubicle doing HR work, and I've never been more unhappy. No natural daylight, just typing away, doing like data entry. I mean, I had a sweet boss, and it was nothing like nothing was wrong. It was just not fulfilling in any single way. And I realized I have all these different tools and techniques that I've used in Europe, and I used to work with children and cooking. So I wasn't prepared to take on the adults right at first, but then it just started in the slow, like 2020, which was like a great year to decide to open up an in person cooking class company. But I did a few like breads for people because like I was baking for myself, my friend wanted one. It really has been such an organic
Mhm.
scaling of this business, never taking a business loan. It's been like I would make a cake, sell that cake, take the money from that cake and reinvest it into the company. So it's been a very long journey of, getting to this point where we are now, but it's been beautiful to experience and to do.
I love the way that you're describing that, just the words and the vocabulary behind it. And so true about scaling. It doesn't always have to be go sign this dotted line and take on all this debt. It can be very real and organic. And I love what you said at the beginning about your business. It does have so many, we can get talk about that more, but so many arms of it between, the classes and the mixes and that. I mean, it's beautiful. And I mean, that's an entrepreneur. You take a need, you found it in 2020 and you capitalized on it. And it's so incredibly beautiful. I love that.
And I also found that the space in Charleston, like we have a lot of great food, but there's not a lot of food that's like, relevant for the ones with allergens or the ones that are plant-based, vegan, gluten-free. And I felt a little bad because I came from so if you know anything about Marbella, it's like the LA of Europe. So 75% I feel like of everyone there are plant-based and very particular about the food that they have on their plate in front of them. It has to be beautiful, it has to be nice. So when I came here, I was a little shocked because the first time I ever ordered anything at a restaurant, um, it was just like a vegetable platter was the only thing I could get, and I had to pay $35 for just like steamed vegetables with some sort of like cream underneath, and I felt like almost like a responsibility. I have to create the most beautiful, aesthetically pleasing food in the world and give it to these people out there who's like me, who can't have the gluten, who can't have dairy or eggs, and it's really something I was deeply passionate about.
I love that. I love the problem solving behind it. Like this, something didn't happen to you; it happened for you, and you were able to not only heal yourself, but now you have this legacy of a healing business that probably has transcended families. Because like once you learn a recipe, it makes you feel something, and you want to take it home and make it for your family, and it's
Absolutely. I mean, I've
incredible.
heard incredible stories after cooking classes. Like I had a girl that came in and has had Hashimoto's and didn't even know where to begin because gluten is a massive trigger for autoimmune disease.
Mhm.
And it's challenging. Like I love bread myself. I'm Danish. I mean, I grew up on bread, right? And being celiac and not being able to have bread has been so hard. So I've studied bread like in Italy. I've gone to Australia, to Thailand because I wanted to learn how to make the best possible bread. So in my cooking class, I give these recipes basically to people to take home and do it again. This girl came back, I kid you not, 3 months later, and she's like, I've been making all my own bread. a year later, I saw her at a market downtown, and she comes up to me and she's like, "You're not going to believe it, but I'm fully plant-based now. I'm fully gluten-free, and I've healed my autoimmune disease." And I was like, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah, people need to hear that. I think it's like you said, it's healing and you don't have I mean, medicine I'm sure has a place where it needs to fit, but like you really can heal your gut with food. I've heard so many people, whether it's AIP or whatever, especially with the thyroid issues, really have some success with food, which is beautiful. Where
Definitely.
do you source a lot of your stuff from here in Charleston?
So we get a weekly delivery from Community Supported Grocery, and we love working with them. They source from all the local farms. It's always fresh. I mean, it's just the best. So either we go there. I also love Grow Food, which is a great place. Like it's downtown North Charleston. I don't know, like north of downtown, I like to say. And they have amazing produce as well. So it just depends on like what we need. That's why a lot of the times for our cooking classes, we can't put the menu on there beforehand because we have to go see what produce we can get. But overall, I'm just very, very happy to work with the local farms here. I feel like they are, first of all, super flexible. A lot of them will grow if they know like the year before they have actually been growing vegetables for us. So that's been a gift.
That's awesome. What would you say along the way, whether it's connections or any of that? I know Charleston's pretty connected and well networked here. It's a special place to be an entrepreneur, but any connections or things along your journey you feel like that really helped you get where you are today?
So much. On top of being, young, I was in my 20s when I started this business and, not knowing where to begin. Like, I remember being overwhelmed just by the thought of starting a website. I thought that was like the most overwhelming thing ever. Cause, like, how do I even make a domain and how does that work? It was very overwhelming. So, I think along the way, the best thing I ever did was I found myself some friends that were at the same stage as me, business wise,
Mm.
like my photographer and videographer, Susanna Reese. She started her business the same time as me. So we're kind of going through the same thing. So I could really talk to her about it. And then, she would know something, I would know something, and we would flip it back and forth. Then there was Nikki from Mabel May, the girl that makes the gluten-free treats. Amazing, right? She's going through all the hardships same time as me. She had a great recommendation for a CPA. I had one for a lawyer. Like, so building that network of other female entrepreneurs has just been amazing. We also have a really good networking group in Charleston called Woman Up, led by Emily Castle. And that has been helpful. And then I just think, instead of thinking you need to have all these things in place before you do it, there's really no better way to learn than just doing it and then learn as you go. There's so many things I still don't know. Like the other day, I was thinking about my labels and how to get like the Department of Agriculture to approve was a specific part of the label, and like had no idea what I was doing, right? So it's just also asking the people on the other side of the table, like, hey, how do I do this? I've never done it before. Being extremely open and honest about like, I don't know everything. Like I could probably learn from you, and how would you do this?
Yeah, that's so good. I feel like we've just been given this culture of like, pull up yourself, pull your bootstraps up, self-made man or whatever it is. And I totally agree with that. Growing your network and asking for help or something that I feel like as a culture, I'm interested to hear how that works in Denmark, but in America, we're not very good at. And to your point, it's been great in Charleston to see. I feel like the ladies here have really led the charge in breaking the walls down to be like, let's reach across and like, you have gifts and contacts. I have gifts and contacts. How can we help each other? And let's both, it's not me or you. We can both win together. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it is. It is. And I also think my best advice to anyone who's thinking about starting a business is do it. I
Mhm.
mean, you don't want to be 70 years old thinking, should I have started that business? Because
Mhm.
you don't want to know the answer to that question. Just do it. And it is time consuming, but it's so worth it at the end of the day because it is yours and it's very rewarding. But just make sure that you have a good plan and that you know where you're going and a good idea to do your research before too, and make sure that you're not about to start something that, 1,000 other people are already doing, and then find your niche.
Oh, such good advice. That's so good. Any surprise twists and turns along your journey that as you were going, it sounds like you've done great at just kind of learning as you go and saying yes and figuring out how to do it once you get there. But anything along the way that you're like, man, I didn't see that coming.
The employee part. The employee part was tough for me. Because I come from a culture where it's very common that you are close with your boss. So in Denmark, people prefer to have a lot of freedom, and the more freedom you give them, the harder they work. And I'm the kind of, employer that will tell you that's okay, like you just, do you. And I kind of expected that Danish mentality to just transfer, and I learned that that's not how it works here. So learning that employer employee culture was very challenging in the beginning. And then the next thing about the employees was finding your team, like finding the people that are going to be there for you. Also, like when your business might have, a month or two that's not super steady, super good. Like it's nice to have a team that's like, okay, but let's try and do this and that and don't just abandon ship.
Mhm.
Um, I also had an employee at one time who took my cookbook, like my where all my recipes are in, because I'm so trusting, and I just left it. I never in a million years would have thought she would take it. She took it, started her own business with all of my recipes, and learning as you go how to deal with these things that might come very unexpected.
Mm.
That was definitely interesting to me. And then another thing was life, like literally life. I became a mom in the middle of all of it. Postpartum kicked my butt. And I really learned that I had a lot of people around me, but I didn't have like a core group around me that could really help lift me. And I think had been so busy scaling my business and like running that I forgot that it's not about me just like receiving. I also really have to give out a lot of my advice and help and everything like that. So that's something over the last 2 years that I've really been building, is that insane group of people around me that no matter if I fall, they'll be there to pick me up. No questions asked. So I think the employee part and like the making sure that it's not just network, but it's like the people you can really call. Like that was probably the best and most challenging.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a Hallmark or a Lifetime movie. The first part of what you said, that's crazy. I feel like I've literally seen that in a movie before. That's really
Yeah.
good. But I
Oh,
also really believe in what you sow is what you reap. So, it is what it is.
and the thing is, like, if you want to start a business based on for that employee that snatched a cookbook, for example, if you want to start your business like that, like, it's not going to work for you. There's no way. So I didn't actually do anything about it. I just let it, take its course. Of course, I was a little bit hurt because I'm very emotionally invested, and it's like recipes that I have written out myself and spent the first like 10 years of my career building. So I was naturally a little upset, but at the end of the day, it didn't work out, and I
It
don't
is what it
care.
is.
It's
Oh,
not me, it's just I have
no,
my
I know. I hear you.
she's not me, so good luck.
Oh, it's also good to hear you say like you've taken 10 years to write your recipes. I think sometimes people get caught up in the quote overnight success. And it's like it never is that. There's always a lot of hard work on the back end. I mean, even all the cooking skills that you had, I mean, your story led you here, but you had to go do the work and get the skill set to be able to maximize it, which
I mean,
is
my skill set for cooking started when I was just a child. I've
mm,
always been cooking. My dad cooked with me, my mom baked with me. I started young, always cooked all my own meals, and when I started traveling the world is really when I started learning. Like I would volunteer myself and my soul to go in and work in like a Thai kitchen in like 110 outside and humidity of like 700 outside, and just I'll pay you to let me work here and then just learn from the best. So a question I get a lot is, did you go to culinary school? And I didn't. So I learned from all my favorite chefs instead. So every year I look up two of like my idols, and I always email them and ask, "Hey, can I come, spend a weekend at your restaurant and work for you? I'll work for free. I'll even pay you if you want, but I just want to learn from you." And that's been like my own version of culinary school.
even better. I mean, it's like the things you can't learn from reading a book and, just
Yeah.
looking at a video screen. I think that's incredible. I love your own kind of continuing education, the way that you pursue it and just your tenacity for not only life, but learning. I mean, that's and beautiful. And I love the self opinion that that takes. So strong. It's awesome. How are you balancing, like you said, being a mom now? And how does that, how do you balance being an entrepreneur, business owner, mom? Like, how does all that look and rolling your schedule?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not balancing at all. I'm like, I actually love that people always ask that question, like, how are you balancing all this? Like, it's so much. Like, I think as a mom, you learn this. In the beginning, I think that's why postpartum was so hard for me, because I wanted to be this perfectionist that I've always been. And I was like, I have to have everything perfect. And if it's not perfect, I'm a bad mom, I'm a bad business owner. But the truth is, I don't think there ever will come like a balance. I think it will always be just this like perfect imbalance that is supposed to be a wild ride, supposed to be enjoyed. And I mean, these little kids don't come with recipe instructions, right? Like they literally will change the ingredients all the time, and it sometimes is a great success, and then sometimes not so much. So I think my greatest tip, like when running a business, the one thing I will say that I'm still practicing is, when stress really hits you, or if you're in one of those months where, you have a bunch of expenses and you feel that pressure of like financials. Because as my business grew really big, I had, the biggest I ever had my team was like, I think 7 employees that were on full payroll. And I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of classes, and that's a lot of bread you got to sell. And that pressure really affected me. And learning how to not bring that home, and not like, not be present in the moment with your kids, that was like a very fine line for me to walk. Um, but I feel like you find home in that too, and you realize when you have a business that the financial risk that comes with everything is just part of it. And if you want to grow and if you want to become big, there's going to be these like massive risks that you have to take and have to find some sort of rest in and be okay with. And then really just enjoy the flexibility you have when you're your own business. Like I have a flexibility unlike any other of my mom friends, because I can pick him up right now if I wanted to. I could hang up this call and go pick him up if I wanted to, right? And I think that flexibility, especially here in the US, where we're all being like forced to work like immediately out the gate, after you give birth. In Denmark, we have what, like a year and a half maternity leave. Like it's crazy. So finding something that works for you, and remember, life is not all about work. It is also about those kids, and like they are your legacy. So invest your time in the right places, but
Yeah.
balance to fall.
Wonderful. Oh, I love that. And perfectly balanced. I love it so much, so much. I know I was reading your bio earlier and you talk about how you always add a touch of coziness, and I'm going to totally mispronounce this, but how do you say hygge?
Hygge.
Okay. I love that.
So I always tell my clients, just imagine that it is like two K's instead of two G's. So hygge
Okay.
hygge is a feeling. And in Sweden they have koselig, they have in Norway they have their own as well. So it's in the Scandinavian country, a very actually foundational concept of lighting candles and making sure you have the right ambiance in your home, and like really making sure that everything you do has that intent of happiness and comfy. So even going through like some of the hardest times of my life, I always feel like hygge can always make it better, right? Because nothing feels better than a glass of red wine and a bowl of chips and some candles and a good movie, and you're just like under that blanket, or whatever it looks like for you. It could be a hot cup of tea, it could be whatever it is, but making sure you make time for that and installing it into your home. Like if you only know how many candle holders I have in this house, like it is insane. And on average, a Danish person lights 5 candles every single day on average, non-scented.
Uh,
So we hate scented candles in Denmark.
I can see that. Yeah, I feel like your personality embodies that word. Certainly, I feel like even just getting to know you, I automatically like feel that exuding from you always, and certainly have seen it as a part of your dishes. Um, Anything else with your story? I definitely want to hear kind of where things are headed and what you have going on, but did we miss anything up to this point that you wanted to share?
I think the most important thing, especially if you live in Charleston, if you have a business, I think one of my best things to share with you is do not be afraid to reach out to some of your peers and tell them that you admire the heck out of them, and ask them if they would like to have a cup of coffee with you and just share, their experiences, because I learned so much from that. Like a girl like Helen, the Bomb Co owner, like she's been an incredible mentor for me, and like has been so sweet and just kind and giving advice and helping me get started. She help me get my first dinner done. Like
Wow.
and she didn't have to do that, but she wanted to. So don't be afraid to, ask people around you for like that advice, even if you think that they are like way ahead of you. Um, they probably want to help.
That's so true. That's been my experience here in Charleston as well. And we can talk about where to find you in a minute. But if you guys haven't seen that dinner on Instagram, the photos are phenomenal. They are beautiful. Oh,
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
So, what do you have coming up next? What's new for Nordic and what's going on with Louise coming up?
This is big. So
Oh, drum roll.
it's big, and I'm almost like tearing up now. Um, So, for the past 2 years, ever since I became a mom, I have had this massive homesick feeling happening, and you can probably already imagine where I'm going with this now. But I'm actually moving back to Europe. So, I am in the process of packing up my family. Well, not quite yet. We have another 2 months before we have to be packed up, but I'm just announcing this now. Like, I think you're the first person I'm actually telling, like, publicly that we are closing Nordic here in Charleston. But Nordic is going to continue on social media. We have a recipe club, which is so cute and cool. I have so many clients that are part of this recipe club, and we're going to continue the recipe club. So, my hope is that I can go back to Marbella, where I was in the beginning. I really want to go back to the source. I want to bring my son, first of all, back to Europe. I feel like having my family closer will be so nice. But business wise, for me, I want to dive into the health aspect even more than I have while I've been here. It's a fine line to walk here in Charleston between healthy and tasty, and like you have to be super flexible and make sure that you don't scare people away, but also don't like make it too greasy and stuff, yellow food. But the next chapter will be more about health and will be more about parasites and detox um and I think spending more time with my son and hopefully having many more kids. So of course it will have an impact on Charleston in the sense of I physically won't be here. You won't be able to find my grab and go. But I will still be here to create all this, food love and goody recipes and send out my recipe subscription. So if anyone watching this wants to be part of that fun, you can also find that on our website. But
Uh,
yeah, big news.
wow. Thanks for sharing that here. Super
Of
honored.
course. It's
Oh,
been hard keeping it quiet just
oh,
because it's been
sure.
something I've wanted for so long. But then also been like, I have this amazing company here. Like, why would I ever want to leave? Right. But when you become a mom, everything shifts, and I can tell that after I went from adolescence into what they call matrescence, I definitely had a hunger for my own family. I had a hunger for a different kind of slow-paced life, and that's the kind of life that I know in southern Spain that they live. So I'm gonna go for that and show my American husband and my partially Danish American son what it's like when we are in the EU. So we'll see how it goes.
That's amazing. It's great. Like you said, I continue to hear for your story. You're just so brave and you just go for it. Like you said, you don't necessarily know how it's going to go or it may not even make sense on paper, but you feel called to it. And I absolutely relate to being a mom. It changes you in every single way possible. And
It
yeah,
does.
there's something about family and going back home that just pulls you back to your childhood and
It
that.
does. It's so interesting because, like, I have never been this close to my mom as I am right now. Like, I miss her every day, which is, when you're in your 20s, I necessarily didn't think about my mom that way. I was more like, that's mom. But now it's like, I miss her so deeply and I want her to be part of everything that we're doing. But it's actually also because I had a dream, like about 2 weeks ago. Well, probably a month ago. It doesn't matter when it happened, but it was about a lemon farm in Spain. And I was like, okay. So then my brain wouldn't stop thinking about it. So maybe we'll see that Nordic expands, maybe buys a lemon farm and we do dinners on the side of the bodega. I don't know. We'll
Oh
see.
my gosh.
But I
Yes. I
think
feel
when
like
you
you're going to have a lot of Charleston clients flying over to Spain to
that's
see.
what I'm hoping for. I have some like the Nordic core group is incredible. So I think that they would definitely want to do that. And I'm really looking to make that experience happen. But as I said earlier, I don't always have a plan. And even though you have kids, you have to remember this. Life is super short. And if you have something you're dreaming about and you want to do, don't wait. Just go for it. Figure out how you can get it done right now, and the rest will come as you move along the path. You just have to be willing to put in the effort to get there. It won't happen on its own, obviously. So take that adventure. If anyone's like thinking about selling their house and buying a boat and sailing the world, do it. Do it today.
I
And then
love it. Oh,
text me
so
if you
much.
did it because I want to know. Or if everyone's like, she's absolutely crazy, that girl.
No way, my kind of people all day. I love it. Well, where can we find you now? How can people can stay connected with you, get connected with you? Are you still doing dinners and classes up until you leave in a few months?
We're going to be so busy. So we have a full schedule in May, full schedule in June. There's going to be our next dinner is going to be Mad Hatter. So it will be like a tea party for adults. We're going to have that at a studio where we're going to have like an infinity wall going on. It's going to be very, very, very beautiful and different. We're gonna have a pop-up with Kue Fei, I think you call it's how you pronounce it. On the very spicy but incredible food. So we're gonna do a fusion with them on June 20th. And then, I mean, just stay tuned. I also have a cookbook release that's going to come before I leave. So there'll be some cookbook signings going on as well. So I will say I have definitely made sure that I don't go quietly. And we will have all the fun we can with the food we have.
I love it. And I will put in the show notes your Instagram handle and your website
Thank
so
you.
people can stay connected. But yeah, I'm hoping to snag a couple of opportunities to get to be around you before you leave us. And maybe to come see you in Spain in the lemon farm. You heard it
You're
here.
come to my little lemon farm and stay at my bodega.
Oh, I love that. Well, Louise, this has truly been a pleasure. I feel like I could just keep talking to you for hours. You're such a joy and a
Thank
light.
you.
Yes.
And thank you for doing this. You're helping so many entrepreneurs that are trying to get started. So thank you so much for letting us have a space to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for listening this week to the Unlock Your Dream podcast. And be sure to give Louise a follow and stay along for her amazing adventure. Okay, friend, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Feel free to share this podcast with another friend who it may inspire. Leave a review to possibly be featured at the beginning of another episode, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the stories that could help unlock your dream for you.